Hi, my name's Tom. I'm 27, freelance programmer. I work from home, a small rented flat in Berlin. Nothing fancy. One bedroom, kitchen that smells like old garlic, and a living room that doubles as my office/coffee lab. I live with a roommate. Her name is Hailey. She's peculiar. Sometimes she's completely silent for days. Other times she stands in the kitchen talking to a cactus named Mr. Prickles like he's her therapist. But she's nice. Smiles a lot. Always has a cup of coffee in her hand. Always polite. We don't talk much. Usually just nod at each other in the mornings. The international sign of I acknowledge your existence, but don't have the energy for words. So anyway, one Wednesday, I decided to do my laundry. That's where it all began. Sounds like a mundane task, right? Wrong. You see, I'm absolutely terrible with appliances. Anything with more than 2 buttons might as well be an alien artifact. And our washing machine? An ancient German beast with mysterious symbols instead of words. Plus, the only instruction manual I found was entirely in Swedish. Don't ask why. I assumed the previous tenant was a Viking. Still, I thought, how hard can it be? I dumped my clothes in, stared at the machine for a solid 3 minutes, pressed what I thought was the start button, and waited. It growled. It hummed. Then something blinked red, and it stopped. I tried 2 more times. Same result. At that point, I figured I needed help. So I grabbed the box of detergent, still not sure if it was liquid or powder, and tiptoed toward Hailey's room to ask for advice. Her door was ajar. I knocked gently. No answer. Hailey, I called out. Silence. I peeked into the kitchen. No sign of her. Then I heard water running. The bathroom door was slightly open, and that's when my brain made the worst logic leap of its life. Maybe she's not in the shower, I told myself. Maybe she just left the tap on. So instead of just waiting, I thought, I'll just quickly check the machine again. Maybe I missed something. I approached the bathroom, peeked through the door crack, and there she was, in the shower, behind a semi-transparent glass wall. And yes, I saw more than I ever planned to. I froze, not metaphorically, like literally. My body shut down like someone had pulled the power cord from my brain. In front of me was a foggy silhouette of Hailey, casually showering, completely unaware that a laundry-literate idiot was peeking through the door like a deer caught in a very wet, very awkward headlight situation. My first instinct was to back away slowly, quietly, like a ninja, a guilty, panicked ninja. I took 1 step back, and that's when it happened. I didn't notice the cord. The hairdryer's cord was looped around my foot like a snare trap. As I stepped back, it yanked. Thud. The hairdryer hit the floor with a bang loud enough to wake the dead. There was a pause. Then, Tom. Her voice pierced through the door like a spear of justice. My brain short-circuited. I still had the box of detergent in my hands. I tried to explain. Something. Anything. No. I mean, yes. But not like, wait. I wasn't. This isn't. I could hear movement in the shower. Water shutting off. Panic took full control. I spun around to run. Heroic retreat mode activated. But forgot one key detail. The floor was wet. My foot skidded. I slipped, arms flailing. Box of detergent flying. I crashed in the hallway like a penguin shot out of a cannon and landed flat on a laundry bag full of Hailey's clothes. White powder rained around me in slow motion like cursed snow. Then the door creaked open. Hailey stepped out in a towel, soaking wet, and there I was, lying on my back in a cloud of detergent, surrounded by her underwear, looking like a raccoon caught robbing a Victoria's Secret store. I blinked up at her and managed to croak out. I just wanted to know where the detergent goes. Hailey didn't say a word. She just stood there, soaked, wrapped in her towel, like some furious Roman goddess of hygiene, staring at me as I lay in her laundry like a powdered idiot. I scrambled to get up, flailing like a turtle on its back. I swear, I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to. I thought you weren't. I gave up. There was no saving this. She slowly turned around, went back into the bathroom, and slammed the door. A full, echoing slam. No words, just wrath and hot steam. I limped back to my room like a soldier returning from battle. My pride? Dead. My dignity? Buried in a sock drawer next to her Hello Kitty underwear I had accidentally face-planted into. The next morning, things were different. The air was thick, tense. I walked into the kitchen. She was already there, sipping her usual coffee, looking at the window, pretending I was just a draft in the wind. I gave a weak nod. She didn't respond, just sipped. On the bathroom door now hung a sign, a literal cardboard sign taped up with pink washi tape. Crossmark, do not enter. Door, ask first. Kitchen knife, seriously, Tom. And then came the final blow. That evening, as I tried to connect to Wi-Fi, I saw it. Our home network name had changed. It used to be Barely Internet 24. Now it was the_pervert_upstairs. I stared at the screen. She had renamed the Wi-Fi. The password was still the same, but that didn't matter. The emotional damage? Maximum. I avoided Hailey for the next 2 days. Like, actively avoided. I developed advanced espionage-level skills just to not run into her. If I heard her in the kitchen, I waited. Bathroom? I held it. Living room? I used headphones as a shield, the universal sign of I can't hear you, so I don't exist. But there was one thing I couldn't avoid. The washing machine. My laundry pile had reached critical mass. I was down to one clean t-shirt, a pair of Halloween socks, and swim trunks from a vacation I never went on. I had no choice. I had to face it. So, armed with my phone, Google Translate, and a cautious heart, I approached the mechanical demon. I opened the Swedish manual, took a deep breath, and began deciphering ancient Viking runes. Tvätta equals wash. Skoljning equals rinse. Snabbvatt equals fast wash. Okay, progress. I pressed a few buttons, chose a cycle, poured in what I hoped was the right amount of detergent, and in the correct compartment this time, then stepped back like I'd just activated a nuclear reactor. The machine started. No red lights. No weird sounds. Just normal humming. I stood there, stunned. Victory. I turned to leave and saw Hailey standing in the doorway. She raised an eyebrow. I froze. We made eye contact for the first time in days. Then she said flatly, "So you can read." I opened my mouth, then closed it again. She walked past me, opened the fridge, and casually added, "If you ever try to do anything in the bathroom again without knocking, I'm calling Interpol." I nodded like a terrified schoolboy. And then, just as she was about to leave the room, she paused, turned her head slightly, and added, "Nice socks, by the way. They had jack-o'-lanterns on them. In July. So, laundry done. Ego destroyed. Roommate tension, simmering at a dangerous boil. I decided to take a break from being a human embarrassment and focus on work. Freelance gigs were piling up. 2 websites, a mobile app that kept crashing when someone pressed the help button, ironic, and a client who used Comic Sans and his company logo unironically. Around 3 p.m., I ventured into the kitchen for coffee. Hailey was gone. The flat was unusually quiet, which normally was fine. But this time it felt ominous. And there, sitting on the kitchen table, was Mr. Prickles. You remember him, the cactus she talks to like he's her emotional support plant. But today, something was different. There was a sticky note taped to the pot. A bright yellow one. In Sharpie, it said, "Mr. Prickles doesn't like peeping Toms." Huh. Ha ha. Okay. Was it funny? Yes. Was it deserved? Also yes. I sighed and poured myself a cup of coffee. The mug I grabbed had a picture of Shark with sunglasses and the words, "Don't be creepy." I was starting to sense a pattern. As I sat down at the table, trying to enjoy my lukewarm coffee and questionable life choices, I noticed something strange. Hailey's drawer in the kitchen, the one labeled Private, Tom unamused face, was slightly open. Now, I'm not the snooping type, despite recent events that may suggest otherwise. But this drawer had always been locked. She literally padlocked it. And now, it was open just a crack, enough to see something shiny inside. Curiosity tapped me on the shoulder. Temptation leaned in and whispered, "You've already embarrassed yourself beyond repair. What's one more bad decision?" I reached out, stopped, looked over my shoulder. Nothing. I pulled the drawer open just a little more. Inside were things: a small recorder, a deck of tarot cards, a key shaped like a star, a tiny notebook with a doodle of Mr. Prickles on the cover. And was that a Polaroid photo of me in the hallway? Wait, what? I blinked, then blinked again. Yes, that was definitely a Polaroid. A me, in the hallway. wearing my Mario pajama pants, holding a slice of cold pizza at 2 a.m. Mid-chew. Not exactly the image I'd put on LinkedIn. There were more photos underneath it. All of me. One with me fixing a router. One from the balcony. One where I looked suspiciously close to falling asleep on the couch while watching Shrek 2. This wasn't just weird. This was borderline Netflix docuseries weird. My brain short-circuited again. Why does she have these? Is she stalking me? Or, wait, is she pranking me? Is this revenge? Suddenly, every conversation we ever had, which, granted, were like 5, played back in my mind with new context. Every smile, every coffee sip, every time she glanced at me across the kitchen. Was she observing me? I closed the drawer carefully, as if I hadn't just discovered my life was apparently a low-budget reality show. Just then, creak, the front door. She was back. I panicked. Not because I was guilty, okay, fine, maybe a little, but because I was literally crouched in front of her private drawer with a cactus judging me from the counter. In a blur of adrenaline and shame, I jumped up, hit my knee on the counter, knocked over a spoon, and yelled, I wasn't looking at anything. She entered the kitchen mid-chaos, wearing headphones, holding a tote bag full of vegetables and chewing gum. She took out one earbud, stared, raised an eyebrow. You good? I straightened up, clutching my knee. Yes, totally. Normal. Human. Afternoon. She squinted. Were you talking to Mr. Prickles again? Maybe. She shook her head, muttered freak, and walked past me. But as she did, I caught something else. She smiled. Just a little. Like she knew exactly what she was doing. She walked into her room and closed the door behind her. Click. Locked. I was left alone, in a kitchen, with a cactus, and 100 new questions. The next morning, I found a box at the front door. No return address. No sender info. Just my name, Tom. Handwritten, in black ink. Slightly smudged. Creepy handwriting. The kind you'd see in a horror movie right before the demon shows up. I picked it up. Light. Squishy. Something inside shifted. I turned it over. Nothing. Hailey's door was closed, but I swear I heard movement. Like she was waiting. Is this a trap? Am I in some twisted scavenger hunt? Is this revenge for the towel incident? I brought the box to the kitchen and opened it carefully, just in case it contained spiders, curses, or more photos of me eating pizza. Inside was a candle. A big, heavy one. Dark green. Hand-poured. With a strange label. Bjorn's Forest Blessing. Underneath that, some kind of inscription. Not English. Not German. Looked like runes. Like the kind Vikings would carve into a cursed tree. Also in the box, a single sheet of paper. Typed. Old typewriter font. Read. When the air feels thick and the code won't compile. Light the forest. Let it smile. What? I blinked at it for a full minute. Then I did what any confused modern man would do. I Googled it. No results. Nothing on the label. Nothing on the poem. It was like this candle didn't exist. I glanced at Mr. Prickles. Even he looked confused. That's when Hailey entered. Slow. Calm. With her usual mug of coffee and that expression like she's 3 steps ahead in a chess game I don't even know I'm playing. She looked at the box, the candle, the note, then at me. You got your delivery? I raised an eyebrow. You sent this. She took a sip. Maybe. I held up the candle like it was a cursed artifact. What even is this? Hailey smiled, a small, mysterious smirk. You'll know when you need it. Then she turned, walked into the living room, and turned on a Swedish documentary about runestones. Casual. I stood in the kitchen holding a candle that smelled like pine, regret, and confusion. And I realized something very important. I may be living with a witch. I didn't light the candle. Not yet. I left it on my desk, next to a half-empty mug and a stack of bug reports, like some mysterious forest grenade waiting to go off. Every time I glanced at it, I swear it was watching me. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Hailey stopped leaving sticky notes. Mr. Prickles stared blankly into space, as cacti do. Even a Wi-Fi name went back to something boring, Netgear_92. I thought maybe things were settling down. Until Thursday night. It started with a smell. Garlic. Warm. Buttery. Unreasonably strong. It hit me like a delicious slap across the face. I wandered into the kitchen to find Hailey standing by the oven, pulling out a tray of homemade garlic bread. Without looking at me, she said, "I'm doing a thing. You can join. Or don't. Up to you." "What kind of thing?" I asked, already halfway to the bread. She gestured at the living room. I peeked in. The lights were off, curtains drawn, candles lit in a weird symmetrical pattern on the coffee table. In the center, a notebook, a pendulum, and my candle. My candle. I stared at it. She looked at me, serious. "Do you believe in energy? Like vibes? Like echoes," she said cryptically. "Residual things. Stuck in places. Especially old places. Like this building." I blinked. "You're doing a seance?" She nodded. I grabbed a piece of garlic bread and mumbled, "Sure. I guess." To be honest, I didn't believe in ghosts. But I did believe in not upsetting someone who owned ruined candles and photos of me in pajamas. So I joined her. We sat on the floor. Hailey lit the candle. It flickered with an unsettling hiss. She closed her eyes, whispered something in Swedish. I sat there, chewing garlic bread, unsure if I was being spiritually cleansed or inducted into a secret coven. Then, click, the lights went out. Total darkness. Power outage. Except for the candle. I jumped up. "Did you?" Before I could finish, we both heard it. Thump. A low, mechanical thump from the bathroom. Thump. Thump. GRRK. The washing machine. The one I had turned off. Unplugged. It was on. Lights blinking. Drums spinning slowly. Grinding like a zombie's stomach. I looked at Hailey. She looked disturbingly calm. "It's responding." "To what?" "To the energy," she said, sipping tea like this was a TED Talk. I, meanwhile, was rethinking every choice that led me to this cursed Berlin apartment. The candle flickered violently. The air grew heavy, like the humidity before a thunderstorm, but indoors. I stared at the bathroom door like it might grow teeth. Inside, the washing machine thumped again. Thump, thump, rattle, then a sound that froze my soul. Splorch. Splorch is not a sound a washing machine should make. Ever. It's the sound of something wet and alive being expelled. I turned to Hailey. She just calmly whispered, "Stay here," which of course I did not do, because I'm an idiot. I grabbed a broom and tiptoed toward the bathroom like I was about to battle a soggy demon. The door creaked open. Lights still out. Just the dim flicker from the candle behind me. The machine was spinning. Not fast, just steadily. And inside I could see clothes. But not my clothes. They were old. Faded, torn, Victorian-looking, lacy, gray with age. Not mine, not Hailey's. I took one step closer, and the door of the machine popped open. A single, soaking wet glove fell out. White, delicate, old, and then, the real horror, another item slid out behind it. Not clothing, a photo of me, from behind, sitting at my desk, from earlier today. With the candle glowing next to me. "Nope," I whispered. I turned, ran, slipped on a damp sock, face planted into the hallway wall, and scrambled back into the living room like a man being chased by eldritch laundry. Hailey didn't look surprised. She picked up the photo, looked at it, nodded. "It's showing you now." "What is it?" I shrieked. She blew out the candle. Everything went still. Hailey calmly got up, walked to the fridge, and said, "Do you want more garlic bread?" That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling like it might start leaking historical trauma. Every time the pipes groaned or the fridge hummed, I flinched. At 4:37 a.m., I made a decision. I was going to leave, just for the weekend, maybe longer, go to a friend's place, book a hotel, pitch a tent in a public park, literally anywhere that didn't have haunted washing machines and surveillance cacti. By 7 a.m., I had packed a small bag. Laptop, hoodie, passport, deodorant, 2 sandwiches. Essentials. Hailey was asleep. I left a note. "Gone for a bit. Don't summon anything while I'm gone. T." I crept out, took the stairs instead of the elevator because I didn't trust anything mechanical anymore, and made it to the street. Berlin felt cold. Not just weather cold. Weird cold. I walked to the nearest U-Bahn station, trying not to feel watched. The city was quiet. Too quiet for a Saturday. I sat on the bench, waiting for the train. A guy in a coat walked by and whispered something in Swedish. I blinked. Another woman on the opposite platform was holding the same candle Hailey gave me. Exactly the same. Dark green. Wax dripped. I got on the train anyway. It was empty. Completely. Not a soul. At 8 a.m. in Berlin. Unheard of. As the train rolled through the tunnel, I noticed something on the glass. A foggy handprint. Fresh. On the inside. Then the lights flickered. The reflection on the opposite window showed someone sitting across from me. But when I turned, nothing. My breath got shaky. The subway car filled with the faint smell of pine? The candle. I bolted. At the next stop, I leapt out and climbed the stairs two at a time. And guess where I ended up? My street. Same block. Same bakery. Same pigeons staring at me like I owed a rent. I checked Google Maps. Somehow, every train line led back to my apartment. I walked inside, defeated. Opened the door. Hailey was at the table. She didn't look surprised. Just said, "They don't let you leave until it's done." Until what's done? She handed me a new sticky note. It said, "Laundry, final cycle." The sticky note haunted me. Laundry, final cycle. What final cycle? Was the washing machine sentient? A portal? A curse? I looked around the apartment. Hailey was unusually quiet, sipping her coffee and watching me like I was a ticking time bomb. There was one place I hadn't checked yet. The old wooden cabinet next to the washing machine. It was ancient, scratched, locked with a rusty padlock. Hailey never mentioned it, never opened it. Curiosity and some irrational survival instinct pushed me. I grabbed a small screwdriver from my toolbox, slid it under the lock, and with a gentle twist, heard the satisfying click. The cabinet door creaked open. Inside were piles of old clothes, some dried flowers, strange trinkets, and at the very back, a leather-bound book. I pulled it out. The cover was embossed with strange symbols, the same runes I'd seen on the candle's label. I opened the book. Inside was a diary. Hailey's diary. Or at least, it looked like hers. Page after page, written in neat handwriting, was a collection of notes about the apartment. Strange occurrences, ghost sightings, runes, and rituals. One entry caught my eye. The washing machine is a gate. It cleans more than just clothes. It cleans the past, the present, and the forgotten. I swallowed hard. That explained the Victorian clothes. And the photos. I closed the book. Suddenly, I heard Hailey behind me. "Found it," she said softly. I turned. Her expression was unreadable. "Now you know," she said. "Know what?" I whispered. "That this apartment has a story. And you're part of it now." Hailey sat down across from me. Her usual coffee replaced with a cup of strong black tea. The mood was heavy, as if the apartment itself was holding its breath. "You're probably wondering why I've been so distant," she said quietly. "I didn't want to scare you. But you're right. This place isn't just an old Berlin flat." She took a deep breath. "The washing machine is a gateway. A portal. It's connected to things beyond." I raised an eyebrow. "Things like what? Ghosts? Time travel? Laundry monsters?" She smiled faintly, but there was no humor in it. More like echoes of the past. Memories stuck between dimensions. Things that shouldn't be here, but somehow they are. She leaned closer. "You and I. We were chosen." "Chosen for what?" I asked, heart pounding. "To keep the balance. To help the past and present coexist without tearing apart." I blinked, struggling to process. "Wait, so you're saying I'm part of some supernatural laundry squad?" Hailey chuckled softly. "In a way, yes." She reached in her pocket and pulled out a small charm, a tiny silver rune shaped like a star, the same as the key I saw in her drawer. "This will protect you, but it's not a free pass. You'll have to learn, to listen, to understand." I stared at the charm, then at her. "Guess I'm not just a programmer anymore," I muttered. Hailey nodded. "No, you're a guardian now." The next few days felt like being thrown into an alternate reality. Hailey became my reluctant teacher. Every morning, she'd brew coffee, hand me the rune charm, and start lessons. She taught me about runes, their meanings, how to read them, how they tied to the apartment's strange energy. She showed me how to communicate with Mr. Prickles, yes, the cactus, explaining that plants can sense energy shifts. We practiced meditations to calm the restless echoes. Most bafflingly, I learned how to operate the washing machine properly, but now with a twist. Every wash cycle was a ritual, I had to choose the right program, not just for clothes, but for what needed cleansing in the flat. One night, after a particularly intense session, Hailey handed me a notebook. "Write down what you feel during the washes," she said. "It helps." I did, even though it felt ridiculous. But slowly, I noticed changes. The apartment felt lighter. The strange noises less frequent. One evening, as I sat by the window, Hailey smiled and said, "You're getting the hang of it." I looked at the rune charm around my neck. From a clueless programmer to a guardian of haunted laundry, life in Berlin was definitely not what I signed up for. One late evening, as rain tapped against the window, I heard a faint knocking at the door. It was strange. No one ever knocked. We usually just buzzed each other in. I opened it cautiously. Standing, there was an elderly woman, dressed in vintage clothes, her eyes sharp but kind. "Are you Tom?" she asked. I nodded, heart pounding. She held out a worn leather bag. "This belonged to your predecessor, the last guardian." I took the bag inside and peeked inside. There were letters, old photographs, and a small journal. As I flipped through the pages, I realized they chronicled the same strange events Hailey and I were experiencing. The echoes, the washing machine, the rituals. The woman smiled softly. "You're not alone. This has been going on for decades." Hailey appeared behind me silently. "We'll get through this," she said quietly. For the first time, I felt like I was part of something bigger, a legacy of guardians protecting the balance between worlds. The night had come. The apartment was silent, but charged with an electric hum. Hailey and I stood before the washing machine, the gateway. The old woman's journal lay open on the table, filled with notes and rituals from guardians past. I gripped the rune charm tightly. "Are you ready?" Hailey asked. I nodded, heart pounding. We started the ritual, setting the machine to the final cycle. Lights flickered, shadows danced. The washing machine hummed, then roared softly. Images shimmered in the glass, faces from the past, memories longing for release. Together, we watched as the machine spun, cleansing the echoes trapped in time. When the cycle ended, the air felt lighter. The apartment no longer whispered. Hailey smiled, real warm. "Welcome to the family, Guardian Tom." I looked around. My strange, haunted Berlin home felt like a place of purpose now. Life was still weird, still unpredictable. But for the first time, I wasn't alone.